awesome video together on the feature match table with the Bant Nadu list, the new hotness of this summer. The bird apparently is the word.
Very much so. I'm sure everybody's been getting their fill of the bird on the Pro Tour so far this weekend.
Yeah, so let's get started here. So obviously, there's a couple different variations around. There's a lot of ways that people are building Nadu. You elected to go with this Bant mid-range style here. What drew you to this particular variation?
So I saw a lot of the value versions of the deck playing things like Solitude, and don't get me wrong, like it seems like a very strong archetype, but I'm a combo player through and through. So when I saw there was a version of this deck that just runs through your deck in Thassa's Oracles, I had to give it a try, and I'm just loving it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've seen you go off a few times, and it's kind of wild. So we'll talk about the four ofs first. So we've got the four Stoneforge Mystics with the
Yeah.
three artifact equipments being the two Shukos and the Cauldron Complete. Notably, only two Shukos.
Yeah.
Why that number?
So I'm only on 2 Shuko because I have the full package on Stoneforge along with 2 Urza Sagas, and I have the Outrider, which can cord. So I have multiple different ways to at least get the combo started to where I can start digging to possibly find the Shuko if I even need it. That's another reason why I have the one of Bristly Bill in here as well, is because whenever you're comboing and you hit a land off of Bristly Bill, you can target something and just continue to combo without your Shuko in that case. You just have to get lucky on hitting lands.
Okay.
So
Makes
there's
sense.
a lot of different ins and outs and ways that you can not particularly set up a combo, but set up a good like streamline to get you to your combo.
Okay. Makes sense. We got the four Wall of Roots, obviously a good accelerator.
Yeah, just
and
great with Court of Calling. Can't complain.
Great wall.
Blocks a lot of stuff in the format.
Who knew that the Wall of Roots would be a good wall?
Yeah,
so,
right.
We got the four Delighted Halfling. Obviously, great synergy there with a couple of the creatures that are in the deck, and also the Teferis to keep them uncounterable.
Turn 2 uncounterable Teferi against blue-white control and/or Jeskai control. Very good.
Yeah, definitely something that I would not want to see going forward. So I hopefully can dodge that interaction there. 2 Summoners packed, and in addition, we have the 4 Court of Calling, so 6 ways to tutor for creatures there.
I've seen some people don't play the chords or the Summoners packs. They're only on the chords. The reason why I like playing the Summoners packs is just because sometimes you're looking at your hand and you just have all these good cards in it and you're a Nadu away from winning the game. And you can just like, all right, I'm never going to see my next turn anyway. I don't need to pay this 4. I might as well just turn this into a Nadu and try to win.
Makes sense, especially when you are so in on the combo. I don't see anything wrong with that. So makes sense to me. And then we obviously have 4 of the bird. You can't have enough of it. So,
I'd even play 5 if I could.
Yeah,
let's be real.
Hopefully that never becomes a thing. But who knows? With my luck, Wizards will print another Nadu maybe. So, going down to it, we've got the 3 Springheart Nantukos.
Yeah, I used to be on 4 of these, but it's just like, yeah, it's cool to play it on turn 3 and then play a fetch land and get a couple of bodies, but the card is really just there to enable your combo. It's not really... I mean, you can also do your backup endurance line where you like bestow the Nintuko on the endurance and sit there and make your opponent watch you do nothing for half an hour. But I don't know. I think 3 is fine just because a lot of times I've had my Nadu and my Shuko and a couple of creatures out and I just hit a chord for this and it works out. So I don't really think 4 is needed. I think 3 is perfectly fine. And it gives you space to play something that you might not have played in the past. Like I was able to get in a spot for Bristly Bill with that. I was able to get in an extra slot to play a couple Colony Gardens, which I've seen on the Pro Tour coverage this weekend and has been very, very impressive.
Yeah, definitely some nice, interesting silver bullets in the deck as well, just that I want to talk about a little bit. So we obviously have the one of Outrider and Core, which is effectively another Shuko.
Yeah, so that's basically like, let's say your opponent Pithing Needles your Shuko, or, they get milled or whatever happens to them where you can't access them. You can hit a chord for 3, get this guy, and start to do some Shukoing with him, and, flanking will always get a chuckle out of your opponent, so...
And not to be disregarded, but it's also instant speed too as well.
So if you wanted to do a little cheekiness on your opponent's turn, like on their end step, you could hit a chord for this guy and go crazy on triggers on their end step, untap, and just keep going.
Yeah. I like that. I get it because, I mean, we're looking at a converted mana cost of 3, so I know it's not always, as easy sometimes as the Shuko is, but I definitely think that ability has some nice payoffs, and I'm always about having those additional lines to kind of keep the engine going.
Oh yeah, very much.
Obviously, we've got the baddie herself, Das's Oracle.
Yeah, they called her training wheels on coverage today for this deck. They're telling everybody to win with their endurances, but I'd
Listen,
rather just let my opponent, go get a drink and some food in between rounds rather than make them watch me make 70 endurances.
yeah, that seems why play with your food when you can just end the game?
Exactly.
No, I totally agree with you there. Now, of note, and I think this one is an interesting include, is Scoot Swarm.
Yes, yes. So that's a backup to Nantuko. It can also be a pretty good just like fill my board type of card against, like, let's say blue white control, because we see blue white control here sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. Like, if you, let's say you stick your Teferi, or you make them fight over your Teferi, and then after that's all done, you go, okay, Scoot Swarm, fetch land, and you can see their face go flush because they're just like, oh no, I wasted all my interaction on a Teferi, and now they're just going crazy. So yeah, Scoot Swarm's really cool. It's a good backup to Nantuko. You can grab it off of Pact and Cord just like you can with Nantuko. So why not just play one?
Yeah, and I mean, after what it's the sixth land is when you start making copies of
Yes. So
itself.
once you get to 6 lands in play, it starts copying itself when you get a landfall. So you can start to go, like, I have 2 Scoot Swarms, then I have 4, then I have 8, and eventually, if you are not doing with a Scoot Swarm instead of a Nantuko, it gets pretty hard to track.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably gonna win at that point.
Oh,
The
yeah.
inevitability is
Oh, yeah.
there, so that makes sense. Obviously, the one of endurance, because you are
Yep.
adding, not drawing cards, adding a lot to hand sometimes.
Get around that
So,
Bowmaster.
yeah, really good job, Wizards. Whoever templated that, give them a raise, because that makes sense in my world. But obviously, an auto include, it's a green creature.
Yep.
Lets you reset if you have to,
Mhm.
and as you were saying, some of the other versions are using this anyway to
Yeah.
perform the kill. So.
Bristly Bill is something that I haven't seen in a lot of other decks. Like, I don't think I saw a single list playing any copies of him at the Pro Tour, and I understand it's a little bit of like a wonky card to be playing, but I just like the availability to have like another thing that continues my combos while also can put +1/+1 counters on my board, and then eventually later in the game I can double my counters and just get in for the beats. Nadu does have flying, so if you just start putting some counters on him with this, one turn you double his power and you swing. If you don't have your Shukos or you don't have your Outrider, you might have a way to win the game there.
Yeah.
So,
No, listen, I like it. I was talking to Sparky yesterday when we were talking about your list, and I thought it was an interesting include. And again, it's another toolbox way to kind of just end the game that, if you're playing too streamlined and everyone knows what you're on to,
yeah.
these extra silver bullets kind of sometimes can steal those games away.
And that's why I liked being lower on the Shukos and playing more options, because if my opponents, like, you're seeing a lot of Tron right now, or Urza Saga decks, if they start main decking Pithing Needle because they're afraid of this and they just go all the time Pithing Needle Shuko, if I was on a 4 Shuko and not really much else type of build, I'd be kind of SOL there. But
Yeah.
now I have a whole bunch of options to go with. If they hit the Shuko, I can go Outrider, I can go Bristly Bill.
No, I enjoy it. And the last silver bullet here, Sylvan Safekeeper, new to the Modern family. Obviously, just protection for your
Yeah,
creatures. You have
protect your
enough lands to
creatures.
go around.
Yep, random trigger here and there if you really need to. If you can't find anything to target your stuff, like, you can sack a land to target your stuff. It's relevant, but it's really just there to protect your combo pieces. Like, if you're going off with your Nadu and your Shuko and your Nantuko, and they go to remove the Nadu or the Nantuko, you can cord for this guy and then just sack a land and you're safe.
All right. Um, the only lands I really want to cover here is, obviously, you mentioned it before, the 2 colony
Yes.
gardens. Just
Yeah.
another way to get a land plus a creature.
Yep, found it at the Pro Tour today while I was watching the stream. It seemed very impressive of them. Just, they weren't really necessarily comboing off yet, but they were starting to build up lands in play and cards in hand, and they hit a colony garden off of it, which gave them a landfall for this and another body. So it was just like so much for one trigger.
Yeah, that's some pretty good value. And then the 2 Urza
Yep.
Saga.
Search up your Shuko. I've been teetering back and forth between 2 and 3 Urza Saga. That's one of the biggest problems I've had recently. Tonight I'm on 2 because I wanted to play 2 Colony Garden. Usually this would be 3 Urza Saga and 1 Shifting Woodland,
Okay.
but I'm trying this out tonight.
All right. Well, hopefully we can get a report back and find out
Yeah,
how
yeah.
that went. So that's the main board. Let's talk about your sideboard here.
So yeah, my sideboard is pretty tailored to what we see a lot of here at the Keep. We have a lot of scam players. We have a lot of control players. We have a very diverse metagame here. So got to be prepared for as many things as you possibly can. So Leyline of Sanctity is really good against like it's helpful in the Ruby Storm matchup. It's helpful in the Scam matchup. There's just a lot of decks that it's really helpful with. Same with Veil of Summer.
Mm-hmm.
Veil of Summer is good to protect me in the control matchups, but is also good against Scam. If I go on the play and they want to grief me turn 1, I can drop a Veil and protect myself. Force of Vigor is really good into the mirror, as well as any decks that are playing artifacts and enchantments. Damping Sphere strictly for Storm, pretty much. Sometimes it gets Tron, but really there for Storm. Path to Exile, just a good card. Sometimes your opponent will play a Magus of the Moon and you don't like that, so you need a way to deal with it. Soul Guide Lantern and Pithing Needle are just toolbox cards to get off of the Saga. This deals with a graveyard deck, obviously. This deals with, whatever activated abilities troubling you, like Yawgmoth or something or other. And then just a second Endurance in the sideboard.
Yeah,
You never know when you need it.
makes sense. Well, John, thank you for being here, and I appreciate this wonderful display of a very pretty deck.
Thank you very
with
much.
Some of these cards.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks so much,
No
buddy.
problem. Happy to.